around for a man, but don't they still at least have the ability to change their frequency? Because what's the difference between a woman who's always chasing a man who ain't good for her and a woman who knows exactly what man is good for her? You know?
Well, essentially, we're talking about complements and polarities.
Mm-hmm.
And when we talk about a woman chasing a so-called man that's not good for her, we're talking about a form of energy. We also have to realize that a lot of these women have been abused at young ages, and they find ways to physically abuse themselves indirectly or passively. What do I mean by that? They attract certain men that are verbally or physically abusive to them, and due to their indoctrination and consistency as children coming up with abuse, they equate that to some form of attention of love. So if a man does not abuse you or does not verbally abuse you, or whatever the hell we want to call it these days, and their warped mind, even if they don't admit it, they feel that he doesn't love them or that he is not paying them enough attention. So she either do something to provoke that abuse or that verbal aspect to receive it. Because in her mind, her equation to love is a giving of any form of attention. And in order to hit you, I have to look at you to strike you. In order to yell at you, I have to be focused at you to yell at you. So a lot of times, a lot of these women, it's a multiple aspect of many things that comes from the recessive raising and the programming of their childhood due to their parents being raised by the recessive society themselves and following the same cycle. And then it's also a combination of the feminine and masculine energies, because there is no woman that wants a man that nobody wants. There is
Repeat
no
that
woman.
one more time.
There is no woman that wants a man that nobody wants.
There is no woman
that wants a man that nobody wants.
Okay, I got you.
You see what I mean?
Yeah, it makes sense.
That it doesn't. Those are the ones that become their friends. Those are the ones that end up in the quote unquote friend zone. You see, and essentially, the masculine energy is change. The masculine energy is knowledge. The masculine energy is dominance. The masculine energy is control. The masculine energy is guidance. So therefore, she usually seems like she's chasing a man that's not good for her, because unfortunately today, the masculine energy itself has been emasculated and been made passive to such an extent that the men that still exist within the masculine energy exist within it in such an extreme insecurity that they project this extreme macho aspect, which only seems to be a small majority of the ones that are still so-called straight. And if you really ask me, this is my opinion, any man that beats or has to verbally abuse a woman is pretty much kind of like a homosexual, because he has a subconscious hate towards her. And usually it starts with this hate between his own mother. And I know that personally from having friends that when I found out later how they grew up, I found out their mother was the neglectful one, and and these are the men that seem to be verbally abusing women, physically abusing women, but also, in an ironic aspect, get the most women. They get the most women. So, in a society where the energy and the nature of us is reversed, we have to remember that when you raise emasculated men, it creates a small minority of number of so-called masculine or quote-unquote real men. So therefore, the men who become the most attractive energy-wise are usually the somewhat abusive, overly projecting masculine energy, usually out of an insecure reason. And then unfortunately the women gravitate toward that, because technically, compared to the other men they have around that overly masculine man who might not be good for her, they're all passive or submissive. And no woman wants that. I don't care what they say. They could be your best friend, y'all could be together for years, but at the end of the day, a woman needs everything and a balance of everything. If you're missing any one thing, she has to find a way to substitute it in some way, shape, or form. Whether it's with a friend, whether it's another man, whether it's a hobby, whether it's an expression of something, a creative aspect, doesn't really matter. But she has to fill the void that you do not possess. And this is why it's a little bit more difficult for women than for men, because women have to find, or attract is a better word, what's already a finished product. but a man, due to his own nature, can actually change and rebuild a woman. Now, I'm not saying a woman can't quote unquote change a man, but if you think about it, change is not what she does. She inspires change within the man. That's the only thing she could really do. And that's why 99.99% of the time you hear women talking about how they was waiting for him to change.
Yeah.
And he never did. Because change is not in her nature. Change is in his nature. And that's another reason why he has been emasculated in reverse. Therefore, he cannot change the current society. And she has been lifted to a position of power. Therefore, she continues to sustain the current society. And that's exactly how they played it, based on the science of genders and natures and our. So basically, woman is inspiration because everything she does come from within. She is a soulful, spiritual creature. She is an emotional creature. She is activated from the inside, not the outside. So therefore, she inspires man. Man is the motivation. He is the motivator. He is the mover. He is the one that puts fire from under you in order for you to move, in order for you to project. He is one directional. He is a laser beam. He is one-minded. Isn't that what they say about you? One-minded. You're always thinking, and that's absolutely right. That is my nature. Why are you trying to make me multi-minded? That's your job as a woman. That's what makes you a great homemaker. That's what makes you a great mother. That's what makes you a great community activist. That you can take care and cater to multiple problems, while I am one directional and I knock each problem out one at a time. So, woman is inspiration, man is motivation. Motivation is physical. Inspiration is spiritual or mental or emotional. It has nothing to do with being physical. If you notice, I'm gonna give you an example. We talking as men. We on the street. Gorgeous, beautiful, flawless skin, beautiful black woman who is God walks by, shapely. I mean, everything we need. What happens automatically to our conversation? We pause, we stop, we're quiet. We some of us don't even know how to speak, how to react. She inspires something within you without saying a word or without making an action that causes your physical body to change and react due to the inspiration of her feminine energy walking by you and grazing her with your presence.
You gotta think how powerful that shit is. It's like,
that's powerful.
She can literally stop a whole conversation.
What do they call it?
We could be in the deepest conversation, no matter what it's about, and as soon as she walks by, hold on. We don't even speak to each other, and it's something we all do at the same time. It's not even something I don't gotta go, yo, bro, take a look at that. We just look. Every single one of us just know where to look as she walks off, and we just staring until she's gone, and then we
get back to the conversation. Yeah. And it's a natural response as men. But now let's go to the man. Man is motivator. What is motivation? Motivation is physical. Mm-hmm. I drag you out the bed. I call you a bitch ass nigga. I call you a punk. I tell you, give me some push-ups. I tell you need to work for what you got. I verbally and physically abuse the hell out of you to motivate you in order for you to be and inspire to be something. What they've done today is they destroyed and they reversed that attribute that comes with the father. And what does this lead to? This leads to entitlement in our men, laziness in our men, no productivity in our men, no strength, no stand-up aspect in our men, to the point where we have feminine, passive, emasculated boys who've now become the new woman. Absolutely. The woman herself has sustained this cycle due to the fact that she's not a changer. It's not her fault. It's really not her fault. But I'll tell you where her fault comes in. To when these things are brought up in a logical perspective and brought up in perspective where they can be looked at and broke down to a way it makes sense, and she still chooses to ignore it. Now it becomes your fault. Because as the gestation and the incubation of all human life on the planet, you have a much more bigger responsibility than I do to have your mind correct. Because my mind and body comes out of yours first. So if your mind is defected in any way, shape, or form for the 9 months that you are incubating me within your system that you call your body and your uterus, then it's a guaranteed fact that I will be affected in whatever small mind